So welcome to the summer sessions, the Anthology of Enlightenment. It's a very promising title, and so far it really has been that. And this is my experience, of course. So I'm really happy with what is occurring, with all the possibilities of a deeper study, of looking at it in a different way, like the vision of everyone is still Christ's vision, but looking at it from, say, yeah, the subjective angle, you could say, like your individual experience of it. And you come then to expressions that are recognizable, but different though. And that's really interesting. So with Mary Baker, she has her own flavor. She is our guest today. I had breakfast with her. I literally had breakfast with her. I was reading and all preparing while I was eating my breakfast. And so we fell in each other's arms and we just love God. And that's what happened. And it was just totally amazing. I have a good relationship with Mary Baker. Not that I mention her a lot. No, I have to refer to an actual occurrence when I was in Boston, in say the first church. Something happened. So I was there. I think it was in, say, 31st of December, somewhere in the winter. And that doesn't really matter, but anyway, it was like I was in Boston. I went into the church. When I came into the church, people said, oh, there are 2 seats here in front. I was with a friend. There are 2 seats in front, and why don't you hurry up, because it's going to start. No idea what they were talking about. There apparently was a concert with the incredible huge organ that is there in the church, and an organ, I think it's one of the biggest in the world, and they have it there standing, and somebody was singing with it, and say tenor was singing. So that was, well, I really did not expect that, but it did happen. But see, at the same time, that wasn't the real occurrence for me. The real occurrence was suddenly I heard Mary Baker recite the text that was on the ceiling, as well as Master Teacher. Yeah, I heard his voice too, literally like reciting the text on the walls. So it was like a huge revelation to me to see that everyone is there, and that literally you take it everywhere. You just never know how it will come to you. And that is so beautiful. So it's like, no way I can express my joy of getting to know Mary Baker in this way. I did read before from her. Master Teacher was teaching about Christian Science quite a bit. So I grew up with it in a certain extent, to a certain extent, but also really seeing that the part of the Course in Miracles as a step in this is totally helpful to come to something very specific. And I will not go too deep into that right now, but it is like there are 2 different things to me. That is, like I already said, like the relationship with Mary Baker. Like there's the recognition of Mary Baker, and there's such thing as the church, the Christian Science Church. Now those 2 have some things in common, but say not as much as you would want. In other words, like the revelation that Mary Baker has is absolutely valuable for her personally, of course, and she's teaching it in the books that you see, that you can read. Like I got one here that I got in that church in Boston, Science and Health. Okay, so with keys to the scripture. So she goes through all kinds of questions and to give answers to it. And So the Christian Science Church and the hospitals and the nurses and the whole vision of dealing with illnesses and dealing with error, in fact, yeah, that is a bit of a different story. And so, yeah, I'll oops, sorry. I forgot to press one button. I'm so sorry. I have to mute everyone automatically because some of us don't see that. Yeah, here we go. So if you want to say something, you can do it later, not now. Oh, it will take me out of my wherever we find ourselves. So anyway, for instance, one thing, and I'll step into that right away because it will come up. It's like, did anyone tell you not to go to a doctor when you have certain symptoms? Did Jesus teach that? Like you should definitely not go to a doctor? No, he did not teach that. No, he did not teach that. So are some of the followers of the church acting that way? Oh yeah, plenty. They're scared for a doctor, as if that's something bad, as if you like say attend or pay a visit to the devil, which is of course nonsense, complete nonsense. Like who's having the symptoms? It starts with you. You're the one perceiving the symptoms, and now you're not going to do anything with it because the doctor is evil. Right, yeah. So that's not how that works. So this is something that will come up. You see that in the writings, not literally, but you see certain things that are presented that are almost complete, but not completely. And in that, it misses it. And I'm not, say, dissecting the mistakes or the deviations or the things that are not exactly right on the spot, but you will see. When I notice it, I will share it. It's more like this. Because there's, like I said, two things. Is Mary Baker the savior of the world? Is Mary Baker the light and the truth and the way? Absolutely. Did she resurrect? Yeah, absolutely. I have no doubt about that. Is that whole and complete? Absolutely. Absolutely no doubt about that. Is that what is being taught in Christian Science Church? No. So that's all right with me too. So this is about Mary Baker, just to be clear. All right. So these meetings that we do, we started mostly with a prayer, with a meditation, with a contemplation, and this is what we do today too. So there's one psalm or one song that Mary Baker, poem you could say, that Mary Baker made, received, because she didn't do anything, she received it, she was open, she received that, and she's giving that to us today in the meditation. Christ is my refuge. Over waiting harpstrings of the mind there sweeps a strain, low, sad and sweet, whose measures bind the power of pain, and wake a wide-winged angel throng of thoughts illumined by faith and breathed in raptured song with love perfumed. Then his unveiled sweet mercies show life's burdens light. I kiss the cross and wake to know a world more bright. And over earth's troubled, angry sea I see Christ walk and come to me and tenderly, divinely talk. Thus truth engrounds me on the rock upon life's shore, against which the winds and waves can shock, oh nevermore. From tired joy and grief afar, and Nearer thee, Father, where thine own children are, I love to be. My prayer some daily good to do, to thine for thee an offering pure of love, whereto God leadeth me.
Sur les cordes de la harpe de l'esprit qui attendent une mélodie basse, triste et douce, dont les mesures lient le pouvoir de la douleur et réveillent une foule d'anges aux ailes blanches de pensées illuminées par la foi et exaltées dans un chant ravi d'amour parfumé. Alors ces miséricordes dévoilent et douces montent les fardeaux de la vie légers. J'embrasse la croix et me réveille pour connaître un monde plus lumineux. Et sur la mer agitée et en colère de la terre, je vois le Christ marcher et venir à moi et tendrement, divinement parler. Ainsi, la vérité m'enracine sur le rocher, sur le rivage de la vie, contre lequel les vents et les vagues peuvent choquer. Oh, plus jamais. De la joie et du chagrin fatigué au loin et plus près de toi, Père, là où sont tes propres enfants, j'aime être. Ma prière, un peu de bien quotidien à faire au tien pour toi, une offrande pure d'amour vers laquelle Dieu me conduit.
Wow, thank you. That's so great. Can you feel that? It's like, oh, I'm just very happy doing this. I'm very happy listening to this music too. It's like this is a Mary Baker song, absolutely. Mary Baker, see how close that feels? I don't know. That's my feeling, of course. So it feels very close. It's like an aunt that I visit like this. Really lovely, really lovely. So I can repeat saying that, but I might as well introduce you to some of what Mary Baker has shared with us. And yeah, there's some history available. So I'm going to share something with you. This is Mary Baker. She was painted quite a bit, so she's. We'll read some history about her to make sure that you know when she was around, you could say, because it's a bit earlier than Joel. Joel was still a baby when she almost passed already. Now a little bit later. Yeah, let's get down to it. Mary Baker, born 16th of July. So she's a Cancer master, I would say. 16th of July, 1821, right? Bow near Concord, New Hampshire. And in the US, died or passed on the 3rd of December, 1910, Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. And I got this from Britannica because the Wikipedia is so incredibly large and so much details that I had like, okay, let's go Britannica.com this time, go to the encyclopedia here. Mary Baker Eddy's Mary Baker Eddy was a Christian religious reformer and founder of the religious denomination known as Christian Science. Her spiritual quest. Mary Baker Eddy's family background and life until her discovery of Christian Science in 1866. So that's about, say, 54 years later, after she was born. 45 years, greatly influenced her interest in religious reform. She was born to devout Congregationalists at the time, when Puritan piety was a real, though residual force in the religious life of New England. She struggled with serious illness from her childhood, grieved over the death of her favorite brother when she was 20, became a widow at 22 after only half a year of marriage to George Glover, and in 1849 lost both her mother and her fiancé within 3 weeks of each other. Her marriage in 1853 to Daniel Patterson eventually broke down, ending in a divorce 20 years later after he deserted her. In 1856 she was plunged into virtual individualism after Patterson and her father conspired to separate her from her only child, a 12-year-old son, from her first marriage. She would not see her son again for nearly 25 years, and they met only a few times thereafter. Now this is the spiritual quest, is what the Britannica said, but I'm missing some points here. Of course, there's the devastation, sure, absolutely. So anyway, so that is Mary Baker. So the timeline is like 1821. So she's a bit. She was earlier, so to speak. Now imagine being a woman in that time and in having writings and say top controversial material that you're presenting. You have some real guts to do so. So that's of course completely given to her to extend that, and that is so obvious. So that's also why it always, yeah, the image can be like firm, like, okay, this is the law, this is how it works, this is almost, yeah, it's the same as what we said yesterday about the mathematics of Lillian de Waters. It's like it's mathematical, there's a science behind this, and I'm actually discovering it, is what she shares and declares. So I discovered this science of being, in fact. Now that's a very interesting idea. But before we go into that, because you see, it's like, yeah, I gotta stay put. I gotta stay just right here. I want to go into everything at the same time. That is just how my mind works at this point. But it's great to build it up a little bit. So I'm making you curious now. So here's one view, you could say, of Mary Baker that is completely like the headline or the what comes through in the, say, in Science and Health, in the answers that she gives in this and the responses and all this, and in her teaching is one thing. Say the main idea that is just totally incredible has to do with this. In fact, she discovers this. It's like, if there's such thing as separation from God, if that is a real thing, separation from God is a real thing, then there's no God. And I think that's great as a statement. That's totally amazing as a statement. If there's such thing as separation, if you think you can be separate, then there's no God. Forget about the God. There's no God. Did he create separation? Why? Why would God create separation? Can any of this separation idea be real? No, it cannot. Okay. good progress. So it's like that is really important to recognize. If you believe one aspect of separation, one, say, missing point in the perfection, one off thing in the totality, then there's no totality, there's no God, and you're completely lost. And this is a way of looking at it that is, say, totally amazing, but in fact you find it back in everything that she's sharing, whether you like it or not. Because who wants to hear this if you're this outspoken? If you're so much like right on the edge, you could say. It's a bit comparable with Lily and the Waters, like it's an absolute teaching, you could say. Like, okay, if there's a God, there cannot be sickness, like that cannot exist. So where are you with your treatments? Why would you treat anything? Why would there be a Christian Science hospital to recover? Why? If there is such a thing as perfection, if there's a God, then there would be no need of that. Like, why would you go to a doctor would be then a normal question. But see, here it is. I said before, it's like Jesus did not teach, don't go to a doctor. No, he showed you in every miracle that took place, in fact, he showed you that it had no reality, that it could just change like this, because it was not based on anything. It had no reality. Now this is exactly what Mary Baker is teaching. And she does that in all kinds of ways, but trying to relate to the ones that are asking the questions, but still, say, answering very clearly. And so that was the first statement that I wanted to share. It's like the whole idea of separation is a complete denial of the presence of God. They cannot coexist. So you either believe one or you believe the other. If you believe that there is separation, well, then you believe that there is no God. So it has to be like a splinter in your eye, you could say. It starts to irritate, that idea. Like, there's no middle way. Now what you're going to do? So this is great. So she talks as a matter of, say, jargon, you could say, about the idea of mortal. A mortal is somebody who believes he can die. So in fact, somebody who is denying eternal life. And so everything that is related to mortal mind cannot have a reality, because life is eternal, you know. So beautiful to see how she expresses that. So we're going to use some examples of that, because so here, for instance, this is still the Britannica. I continue. I use the book Christian Healing and Other Writings, because the other writings there are also some poems and prayers in there. That's why I used it. And the other writings that you find in that book is, say, articles for newspapers, which are also interesting, because she's relating to an world, and in fact sharing about Christian healing in the newspapers. Well, have you tried that? All right, so she did it. The only correct answer to the question, she says, who is the author of evil, is the scientific statement that evil is unreal, that God made all that was made, but he never made sin or sickness, either an error of mind or body. Life in matter is a dream. Sin, sickness, and death are this dream. Life is spirit, and when we waken from the dream of life in matter, we shall learn this grand truth of being. St. John saw the vision of life in matter, and he saw it pass away, an illusion. The dragon that was wroth with the woman, and stood ready to devour the child as soon as it was born, was the vision of envy, sensuality, and malice, ready to devour the idea of truth. But the beast bowed before the lamb. It was supposed to have fought the manhood of God that Jesus represented, but it fell before the womanhood of God that presented the highest ideal of love. Let us remember that God, good, is omnipotent. Therefore, evil is impotent. There is but one side to good. It has no evil side. There is but one side to reality, and that is the good side. So what she also discovered, you could say, what she also discovered has to do with the idea of dream. So she was actually reading Genesis, Adam and Eve in the garden, and they were thrown out of it, it looks like. Huh? So it's like east of Eden, Adam fell asleep. Now she discovered that nowhere in the Bible it is being said that Adam woke up. It's like, so Adam is asleep, man is asleep. Like that is what you can conclude in that. So it dreams, man dreams. And this is like the origin of the dream, you could say, because like in this story it fits so well. It's like Genesis, did you ever read it? It's like, well, read it again. You'll see nowhere in the Bible it says that Adam woke up from this dream. So in this Adam is of course you. It's like you are waking up out of this dream of limitation, attack and murder. When you wake up out of it, you see the unreality of it. Up to that point, you think this dream is real, and you really think that you have to do something and respond to it, and look for your safety and comfort. So I thought that this was an interesting side note connected to what we just read. And I'm already with the next idea, and that is this. The mistaken views entertained of deity becloud the light of revelation and suffocate reason by materialism. When we understand that God is what the scriptures have declared, namely life, truth and love, we shall learn to reach heaven through principle instead of pardon. And this will make us honest and laborious, knowing that we shall receive only what we have earned. Jesus illustrated this by the parable of the husbandman. If we work to become Christians as honestly and as directly upon the divine principle, and adhere to the rule of this principle as directly as we do to the rule of mathematics, there it is, we shall be Christian scientists and do more than we are now doing, and progress faster than we are now progressing. We should have no anxiety about what is or what is not the person of God if we understood these principles better and employed our thoughts more in demonstrating it. We are constantly thinking and talking on the wrong side of the question. The less said or thought of sin, sickness or death, the better mankind morally and physically. Alright, so here's a couple of things that we need to take a look at. It's like, if we work to become Christians as honestly and as directly upon the divine principle, and adhere to the rule of this principle as directly as we do to the rule of mathematics, we shall be Christian scientists, and do more than we are now doing, and progress faster than we are now progressing. So what is he then exactly talking about? I think I got it here somewhere too. let me see if I can find this. Yeah, here. I call your attention to this to remind you of the joy you have had in following the more perfect way, or the golden rule. As ye would that man should do to you, do ye. Let no root of bitterness spring up among you, but hold in your full hearts fervently the charity that seeketh not only her own, but another's good. The angel that spake unto the churches cites Jesus as he that has the key of David, that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. In other words, he that toiled for the spiritually indispensable. Okay, going back to where we were. See, I don't want to get too deeply into this, but it's great to see some of her writing, because it's in fact recognizable. So what she says, in fact, is like, you will progress quicker if you actually apply that what is given for you to practice. It's like, you can hear about perfection, you can hear about say evil thoughts, or trusting your perception, trusting your senses, instead of, say, ignoring that as information or as guidance, but say learning to listen to the still small voice. It's like applying the teaching that is actually given will progress, will make your progression quicker. And all of this just to, in fact, say, to let the mortal mind be for what it is, and say, come in touch with that what is. So like not staying with all the difficulties, with the say sickness, lack and limitation, and keep being busy with that. No, leaving that and say focusing on opening your mind to receive, to listen, like receive a listening attitude. She says literally, like, it's better to be quiet than to keep repeating, say, the mortal mind, ideas. So that was a part of her teaching. And we continue. God is all, and in all. That finishes the question of a good and a bad side to existence. Truth is real, error is unreal. You will gather the importance of this saying when sorrow seems to come. Like, you will gather the importance of this saying when sorrow seems to come. Truth is real, error is unreal. If you will look on the bright side, for sorrow endureth but for the night, and joy cometh with the light, then will your sorrow be a dream, and your waking the reality, even the triumph of soul over sense. If you wish to be happy, argue with yourself on the side of happiness. Take the side you wish to carry, and be careful not to talk on both sides, or to argue stronger for sorrow than for joy. You are the attorney for the case, and will win or lose according to your plea. I like that comparison. So it's like, yeah, you're like an attorney. You decide continuously, what is it that I choose? Am I going to make this real, or am I not going to make this real? So this is like the mind training. In the Course in Miracles, we're very familiar with that, of course. It's like, you either judge after appearances. I mean, Joel says it too. It's like you judge after appearances, or you judge truly. And judging truly means you leave, you leave behind what you have seen. You leave behind what you perceived what your senses were telling you. And what your senses telling you is also related to all the ideas connected to that. So it's not that the senses are doing something. No, in fact, it is like, what are you thinking? Where are you with your mind? Where's your attention? I thought it was a really lovely expression that she did. I'll read it again in a moment, but it's like, this is a really lovely expression, which is so clear and so recognizable. Also, I was like, yeah, there's no good and bad in it. It is just whatever you plea, whatever your plea is. Like, yeah, it's up to you. Let's read it one more time, because it's just lovely. God is all, and in all. And that finishes the question of a good and a bad side of it to existence. Truth is the real, error is the unreal. You will gather the importance of the saying when sorrow seems to come. If you will look on the bright side, for sorrow endureth for the night, and joy cometh with the light, then will your sorrow be a dream, and your waking the reality, even the triumph of soul over sense. If you wish to be happy, argue with yourself on the side of happiness. Take the side you wish to carry, and be careful not to talk on both sides, or to argue stronger for sorrow than for joy. You are the attorney for the case, and will win or lose according to your plea. So I love that. It's just a beautiful expression. Very helpful. See, and the triumph of soul over sense is more like the recognition in your consciousness of what is real. It's not a triumph in that sense. But it certainly can feel like that. It will be full of triumph. Like you will be very happy to see your concern disappear. The glorious Godhead is life, truth, and love. And these three terms for one divine principle are the three in one that can be understood. Life, truth, and love, and that find no reflection in sinning, sick, and dying mortals. No miracle of grace can make a spiritual mind out of beliefs that are as material as the heathen deities. The pagan priest appointed Apollo and Asclepius the god of medicine, and they inquired of these heathen deities what drugs to prescribe. Systems of religion and medicine grow out of such false ideas about the Supreme Being. The Supreme Being cannot heal the sick and cast out devils or error. Systems of religion and of medicine grow out of such false ideas of the Supreme Being, cannot heal the sick and cast out devil errors. Like that is just not what happens. Now here we go to the secret of Christian Science. That's always interesting when there are secrets being shared. The secret of Christian Science in right thinking and acting, not to forget, is open to mankind, but few comparatively see it, or seeing it, shut their eyes and wait for a more convenient season, or as old cry out, why art thou come hither to torment me before the time? Strong desires bias human judgment and misguide action, else they uplift them. But the reformer continues his lightning, thunder, and sunshine till the mental atmosphere is clear. The reformer must be a hero at all points, and he must have conquered himself before he can conquer others. Sincerity is more successful than genius or talent. The 20th century, in the ebb and flow of thought, will challenge the thinkers, speakers and workers to do their best. Whosoever attempts to ostracize Christian Science will signally fail, for no one can fight against God and win. All right, well, there you have it. So the secret of Christian Science in right thinking and acting is open to mankind, but few comparatively see it, or seeing it, shutting their eyes and waiting for a better moment. Strong desires bias human judgment and misguide action, else they uplift them. So these are all like warnings, or they are all instruction, you could say. So you see this in this book too, like in the Science and Health, a book with keys to the scripture. You see this a lot. There's a lot of advice, like do this and do that, and don't forget this, don't forget that. And it's like if you would keep that in mind, wow, that's quite something to keep that all with you when you live your daily life, you could say, or when you get into the practice on the market. So you can see that C is not directly, say, pointing at the awakening experience as we know it. You know, C is more like instructing how to think and taking it from there. It's like to be aware of what you are thinking and allowing, say, your mind to be on the right side. See, and that's that's still very much related to your dealings in your daily life. And what am I pointing at here? It's like the openness or the possibility for a different experience is really something that can easily be your practice, like in meditation or in allowing something else to come to you. Like I'm saying this a little bit too in relationship with our dear friend Joel. It's like he left the Christian Science church not to ostracize it or to make it weird or anything. No, not at all. No, but he introduced certain aspects, and these certain aspects, like one of them is certainly meditation, to calm down, to learn to listen, to not, say, fight disease, not to ask God for anything, not to, like all the nature of prayer, the nature of truth, the nature of error that he is introducing in his teaching. So here you see that what Joel then afterwards did with this is almost like categorizing it, to give it a little structure. And that is very helpful to me, because if I read it like this, I'm all over the place. It's like, okay, yeah, I would have to follow so much instruction in order to know how to do anything. And of course he's referring to an individual experience of the love of God, absolutely. But that's not like the first thing that he's, say, bringing. Yeah, I've said something here. That's great. So I'm happy that I can share it this way, because it's nice to use Joel, for instance, too, in this, since he was part of this. So the other one that was yesterday, I guess, Lillian de Waters, was also part. She grew up with Christian Science, and then she left that for what it was too. So of course it shaped her. The same as with Mary Baker. It's like she grew up in a Congregationalist family where purity was still like a high principle in New England where she lived. It's like, okay, it was not as bad as it was, but still it was there, and you recognize that when you read her teachings. So it's like that that is what yeah, at least I share, of course, my own experience with it. You can feel that, you can, and yeah, that is timely. So it has not really, in that sense, not really a value. It is also a part of some kind of bias in that sense. I'm not doubting her at all. Like, I'm not doubting her individual experiences. They were absolutely pure. I'm sure of that. Like her love for God, I really love her for her love for God. I really love her for, say, the Christ recognition, and say loving your brother, and yes, she demonstrates that in various ways. Like if you read some of the sermons, you'll recognize that too. So there are many sermons. She taught a lot in the big church in Boston. She yeah, there are many books. There's a lot of literature. Should you study that? Well, if it resonates with you, you should definitely take a look. That's always like that. It's like, definitely take a look. It doesn't hurt to read it. No, it's like it opens something up. And for one thing, it is not about, it's like teaching and using the right words or being able to explain it well. No, the recognition comes with the sense of oneness that you feel, like the deep connection that you feel with the one that is expressing herself. So this is what I sincerely have with Mary Baker. So does that matter what she says? Does it matter what's written in the books? No, not really. No, but it's like a total recognition and love relationship in that sense. So yeah, that's why I had breakfast with her, and we fell in each other's arms. So it was really like that. It's like so lovely. Yeah. So that's really great. What else? Oh yeah. So there, I was reading something too of her a moment ago, like a couple of weeks ago. My voice was a bit, like my throat was a bit raw, but okay. So I'm going to share that with you. This is from, I think from Science and Health. Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures. Mary Baker Eddy. Chapter 10 from the book. Science of Being. That which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked upon, and our hands have handled, of the world of life. That which we have seen and heard declare we unto you, that ye also may have fellowship with us. And truly our fellowship is with the Father, and with his Son, Jesus Christ. John, first epistle. Here I stand, I can do no otherwise, so help me God. Amen. Martin Luther. In the material world, thought has brought to light with great rapidity many useful wonders. With like activity have thoughts, swift pinions, been rising toward the realm of the real, to the spiritual cause of those lower things which give impulse to inquire. Belief in a material basis from which we be deduced all rationality is slowly yielding to the idea of metaphysical basis, looking away from matter to mind and the cause of every effect. Materialistic hypotheses challenge metaphysics to meet in final combat. In this revolutionary period, like the shepherd boy with his sling, woman goes forth to battle with Goliath. In this final struggle for supremacy, semi-metaphysical systems afford no substantial aid to scientific metaphysics, for the arguments are based on the false testimony of the material senses as well as on the facts of mind. These semi-metaphysical systems are one and all pantheistic, and savor of pandemonium, a house divided against itself. From first to last, the supposed coexistence of mind and matter and the mingling of good and evil have resulted from the philosophy of the serpent. Jesus' demonstration sifts the chaff from the wheat and unfold the unity and the reality of good, the unreality, the nothingness of evil. Human philosophy has made God man-like. Christian science makes man godlike. The first is error, the latter is truth. Metaphysics is above physics, and matter does not enter into metaphysical premises or conclusions. The categories of metaphysics rest on one basis, the divine mind. Metaphysics resolves things into thoughts and exchanges the objects of sense for the ideas of soul. These ideas are perfectly real and tangible to spiritual consciousness, and they have this advantage over the objects and thoughts of material sense: they are good and eternal. The testimony of the material senses is neither absolute nor divine. I therefore plant myself unreservedly on the teachings of Jesus, of his apostles, of the prophets, and on the testimony of the science of mind. Other foundations there are none. All the systems based, wholly or partially, on knowledge gained through the material senses are reeds shaken by the wind, not houses built on rock. The theories I combat are these: that all is matter, and that matter originates in mind, and is as real as mind, possessing intelligence and life. This first theory, that matter is everything, is quite as reasonable as the second, that mind and matter coexist and cooperate. One only of the following statements can be true: that everything is matter, and that everything is mind. Which one is it? Matter and mind are opposites. One is contrary to the other in its very nature and essence. Hence both cannot be real. If one is real, the other must be unreal. Only by understanding that there is but one power, not two powers, matter and mind, are scientific and logical conclusions reached. Few deny the hypothesis that intelligence apart from man and matter governs the universe, and it is generally admitted that this intelligence is the eternal mind or divine principle, love. The prophets of the old looked for something higher than the systems of their times, hence their foresight of the new dispensation of truth. But they knew not what would be precise nature of the teachings and demonstrations of God's divine mind in his more infinite meanings. The demonstration which was to destroy sin, sickness, death, and establish the definition of omnipotence and maintain the science of spirit. The pride of priesthood is the prince of this world. It has nothing in Christ. Meekness and charity have divine authority. Mortals think wickedly. Consequently, they are wicked. They think sickly thoughts, so they become sick. If sin makes sinners, truth and love alone can unmake them. If a sense of disease produces suffering and a sense of ease antidotes suffering, disease is mental and not material. Hence, the fact that the mind alone, the human mind alone, suffers, is sick, and that the divine mind alone heals. The life of Christ Jesus was not miraculous, but it was indigenous to his spirituality. the good soil wherein seed of truth springs up and bears much fruit. Christ's Christianity is the chain of scientific being reappearing in all ages, maintaining its obvious correspondence with the scriptures and uniting all periods in the design of God. Neither emasculation, illusion, or insubordination exist in divine science. Jesus instructed his disciples whereby to heal the sick through the mind instead of matter. He knew that the philosophy, science, and proof of Christianity were in truth casting out all inharmony. In the Latin, the word rendered disciple signifies student, and the word indicates that the power of healing was not a supernatural gift of those learners, but the result of their cultivated spiritual understanding of the divine science, which their master demonstrates by healing the sick and sinning. Hence, the universal application of the saying, "Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also, which shall believe on me," understand me, "through their word." Our Master said, "But the Comforter shall teach you all things." When the science of Christianity appears, it will lead you into all truth. The Sermon on the Mount is the essence of this science, and the eternal life, not the death of Jesus, is its outcome. Those who are willing to leave their nests or to cast them on the right side for truth have the opportunity now, as aforetime, to learn and to practice Christian healing. The scriptures contain it. The spiritual import of the word imparts this power. But as Paul says, how shall they hear about a preacher? How shall they preach except by him he sent? If sent, how shall they preach, convert, and heal multitudes except the people hear? Truth. The spiritual sense of truth must be gained before truth can be understood. This sense is assimilated only as we are honest, unselfish, loving, and meek. In the soil of an honest and good heart, the seed must be sown, else it beareth not much fruit, for the swinish elements in human nature uproots it. Jesus said, "Ye do err, not knowing the Scriptures." The spiritual sense of the Scriptures brings out the scientific sense and is the new tongue referred to in the last chapter of Mark's Gospel. Jesus' parable of the sower shows the care our Master took not to impart to dull ears and gross hearts the spiritual teachings which dullness and grossness could not accept. Reading the thoughts of the people, he said, "Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye the pearls before swine." It is the spiritualization of thought and the Christianization of daily life, in contrast with the result of the chastely farce of material existence. It is chastity and purity, in contrast with the downward tendencies and earthward gravitation of sensualism and impurity, which really attest the divine origin and operation of Christian science. The triumphs of Christian science are recorded in the destruction of error and evil, from which are propagated the dismal beliefs of sin, sickness, and death. The divine principle of the universe must interpret the universe. God is the divine principle of all that represents him and all of that really exists. Christian science, as demonstrated by Jesus, alone reveals the natural divine principle of science. Matter and its claims of sin, sickness, and death are contrary to God and cannot emanate from him. There is no material truth. The physical senses can take no recognize of God and spiritual truth. Human belief has sought out many inventions, but not one of them can solve the problem of being without a divine principle of divine science. Deductions from material hypotheses are not scientific. They differ from real science because they are not based on the divine law. Divine science reverses the false testimony of the material senses and thus tears away the foundations of error. Hence the enmity between science and the senses, and the impossibility of attaining perfect understanding till the errors of senses are eliminated. The so-called laws of matter and medical science have never made mortals whole, harmonious and immortal. Man is harmonious when governed by soul. Hence the importance of understanding the truth of being, which reveals the laws of spiritual existence. God never ordained a material law to annul the spiritual law. If there were such a material law, it would oppose the supremacy of Spirit, God, and impugn the wisdom of the Creator. Jesus walked on the waves, fed the multitude, healed the sick, and raised the dead in direct opposition to material laws. His acts were demonstrations of science, overcoming the false claims of material sense or law. Science shows that material, conflicting mortal opinions and beliefs emit the effects of error at all times, but this atmosphere of mortal mind cannot be destructive to mortals and health when it is opposed promptly and persistently by Christian science. Truth and love antidote this mental miasma and thus invigorate and sustain existence. Unnecessary knowledge gained from the five senses is only temporal. The conception of mortal mind, the offspring of sense, not of soul, spirit, and symbolizes all that is evil and perishable. Natural science, as it is commonly called, is not really natural nor scientific, because it is deduced from the evidence of the material senses. Ideas, on the contrary, are born of spirit, and are not mere interferences drawn from material premises. The senses of spirit abide in love, and they demonstrate truth and life. Hence Christianity and the science which expounds it are based on spiritual understanding, and they supersede the so-called laws of matter. Jesus demonstrated this verity, that what we erroneously term the five physical senses are misdirected. They are simply the manifested beliefs of mortal mind, which affirm that life, substance, and intelligence are material instead of spiritual. These false beliefs and their products constitute the flesh, and the flesh wars against spirit. Divine science is absolute and permits no halfway position in learning its principle and rule, establishing it by demonstration. The conventional term called matter and mind, God never formed. Science and understanding governed by unerring and eternal mind destroy the imaginary co-partnership, matter and mind, formed only to be destroyed in a manner and at a period as yet unknown. This suppositional partnership is always obsolete, for matter examined in the light of divine metaphysics disappears. Matter has no life to lose, no spirit never dies. A partnership of mind with matter would ignore omnipresent and omnipotent mind. This shows that matter did not originate in God, spirit, and is not eternal. Therefore, matter is neither substantial, living, nor intelligent. The starting point of divine science is that God, spirit, is all in all, and that there is no other might nor mind, that God is love, and therefore he is divine principle. Okay. Thank you, Mary Baker, for putting that down. I love it. So you see, this is in fact where I started this meeting with the idea. It was like, if there is such thing as separation from God, then there is no God, because God envelops everything, like it has no exceptions. So you see that she is continuously, in fact, motivating that idea. It's like she's continuously talking about that. And that's why it's great to find it back here in this science of being. All right, so getting to the poem at this point, I'm going to share with you the poem that I made, inspired by the work of Mary Baker. And first we'll let you see it, read it yourself, and then I will recite it too. And I do this just, in fact, to have a possibility of subtitles. Otherwise, if there's only text on the screen, there's no subtitles for anyone who wants to hear it in a different language. Like our dear Michel et Pierre. All right, so... Immortal. Not a product of spirit, not material, not an image reflected on the retina. Matter cannot see, smell or touch. Suppose selfhood, what is dead? Did it ever see? It cannot feel itself, it did not hear. What was darkness but imagination? In the beginning God created the heaven and earth. No form, the vast forever, truth of being, eternal harmony. God is love, truth, life. Love, the compass of infinite life, the power of infinite truth, true glory of immortality. What I am is for God to declare in His infinite mercy. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Immortal. Thank you. All right, well, we're getting to the end of this moment together. Let me see something. This is great. I'm really happy to have been able to introduce Mary Baker to you, if you knew her or not. It's like there's a lot to discover when you read her material and when you stand still and in fact listen to what is being shared, because it all comes from a very beautiful place, and that's the recognition that you can have with it and join with that. So I'm really happy with that. So thank you so much for today, for your attention, for your presence here. That is totally appreciated. And now we have a bit of a break, like a couple, I think next week, Thursday, there will be the next meeting, something like this. Don't get me wrong, go to the ebhub.com website and you see it on the front page. You see the schedule for this summer. I'm not really good at numbers, especially not after a meeting like this. So I want to stay in in the recognition, and I'm not concerned about tomorrow whatsoever. All right. So thank you so much, and I'm playing some music and say thank you so much. Bye for now.